Okay, so I went in, I did a few finishing touches. I set everything since I went in and I had stippled more cream on, and I actually set it with a powder foundation just to kind of like further knock everything down just a little bit. So just kind of to review on this side, I had started with just sort of like um, an age makeup that would be more appropriate for a smaller size theater versus one that's going to be more appropriate for something we see for much larger theaters or for opera, like we were like more specifically studying this week. So there are some people that still do this far more dramatic the way that I did. I still, like I mentioned, like in the first one, I still really struggle with this style of makeup, which is why I don't really work in opera very often. Really, I think I've really only done it once, just because I don't think, me personally, I don't think my hand is the most suited to that. So it is definitely a little bit of like a trickier style to kind of get down. I prefer like the more subtle, even like this, there's a ton of makeup on my face. But compared to a lot of the things that you'll see, especially in opera, it is still fairly subtle, but it would still definitely read if you were in a much larger house or like larger theater space. Um, I would probably have to pump it up like a little bit to fit sort of like I feel like maybe like the drama that you see in like a lot of character makeup for opera, but certainly the way that like the shadows are placed, because I know this is not exactly the furthest distance, but even from like this one where I'd probably just look like a little bit tired, like honestly, compared to this side where obviously there was like some aging and things that were done. Personally, I think it's a little bit easier to do age makeup on somebody else than it is to do it on your own face. I don't know if you just get like a better angle maybe, but I have always kind of struggled, I feel like, to also do my own age makeup. Um, but yeah, so hopefully this kind of like makes everything a little bit more clear. Um, Again, I do things a little bit differently. Like I don't completely like lighten somebody's skin tone for age makeup. I don't personally think that that's the most appropriate thing in the world to do, especially when you are working with people that are um, of like a deeper skin tone. I don't think that that is the place that you should start with makeup. You can certainly start by putting your highlights down first, but I do think that it's better to start with somebody's more natural skin tone first, and then add in highlights and shadows from there, just so somebody doesn't get too ghostly white, just so that they don't, one, so it doesn't become just like too light for what their skin tone naturally is, and so that it doesn't get washed out on stage. Because I do think you see a lot of like very dramatic um, character makeups where people are almost like, probably with how my skin tone is, I could see that someone like would have made my entire face like white almost to start. But once you do that to somebody on stage, it's like if the right light hits them, you're almost way too bright. So I would prefer still, I always prefer like a more natural skin tone. And if I have to like pop up a highlight more with white or with something light, then I would always prefer to do that than to start with something that's a little bit lighter. So I think that's one reason too. A lot of the times when I do makeup like this, I do struggle because I think that I kind of do have my own like methods for things and things that I believe in my own personal way of doing makeup are more correct than other ways. So I think that is one reason that I also have a hard time and I struggle with this. But the most important thing to remember is that you always want to have definition and have contrast. So whichever way you're achieving that, just make sure that if you're going to be really far away, you can see it. It's a good idea to test makeup like this and get it under the lights, just because like this to me, like when I was first doing it, like, oh, it seemed really crazy, like I look awful, like that's probably what I need. But once you're on this, I'm barely even that far away, and it's not even like I kind of like wake up and look like this in the morning, like it's not even that much makeup compared to the side where it's just like if you're really close to my face, like it's a little scary. But I could probably even use more contrast, so that's why it's really important if you can get people on stage before you need to see them for the final time and you can see them under the lights, it's a really good idea to do that, just so you kind of have an idea of where you're at and what you are working with. So hopefully this kind of helped make the world of like opera makeup and other makeup for larger houses make a little bit more sense. I know it was focused on old age, but again, I just think that that's kind of like the easiest way and also like a common way to kind of show the contrast between the two different styles of theater. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.